So today I felt quite moved to share with you the testimony of how Jesus helped me overcome the passing of my granddad and how he helped me through the painful time of that period. And it's still a thing you always will be overcoming, but I've realized with time it's just you become more mature with the experience and you become more mature with the fact that they have passed away and they are no longer living. And interestingly enough, as I decide to do this video, I find out on Friday is the anniversary of his death. I did not know that. I only found that out today. I knew we was doing something on Friday, but I didn't know that was the reason. And I didn't realize it was the anniversary of his death. I thought it was the anniversary of, my nan and granddad's marriage or something like that. So I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was laying in bed with my girlfriend and I knew that my granddad was in hospital. The reason he was in hospital was because he had, I believe, a blockage in the brain which caused a stroke, and he was doing what he loved when this happened. He was a gardener. He had an allotment and he was doing his usual dues where he goes there and does what you do at an allotment, looking after the flowers. He made this rose that I'm putting on the screen right now, Sheila's perfume. You might have heard of it. It's a beautiful rose, look out for it. And he was gone for a long time, says my nan. He left, said goodbye to my cousins who were there in literally the last moments of him leaving the house. They were one of the last ones to speak to him. And he was gone for a long time, and my nan knew something was up, so she went and checked on him, and she found him in a state that I'm not going to describe, but it was very unfortunate. I can only guess you can imagine what it would be like. He's suffering a stroke. And he goes to the hospital and he's there for around a week. And I remember I was planning on actually going down on the Thursday that he passed away, or I believe it was Wednesday or Tuesday, because I was going to go Thursday, but he passed away before I could go. And, in the moment, it was sad, I didn't get to see him, but I look back with gratitude that perhaps, maybe I wasn't meant to see him in the hospital bed, because my last memory of him is me and him talking in my kitchen, and I'm showing him me boxing the head off my sparring partner. And, I was making him proud, I feel like, and that's a very good memory, a very loving memory that I get to cherish, and that is the final memory that I get to cherish with him. And yeah, he passed away, and I remember I was laying in bed with my girlfriend and I get the phone call. Like Lucas calls my brother calls my name, calls me out, and my parents were on the phone and they tell us, he's passed away. And in that moment, it just felt like the world had shut down. It just felt like my world had stopped, frozen in time. Of course, the thing you do is start crying. Tried holding it back, but I just couldn't stop crying. And I thank the Lord that he put in my heart, that this is the natural order of life. This is meant to happen. We are meant to pass away. We are meant to live and die. And my granddad left me many memories, many very good memories. One, when he surprised us to Butlins. We didn't know he was going Butlins. It's one of my favourite places. If you're in the UK, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the equivalent of Disneyland, I'd say, but it's not really. To me, it is. It's got a lot of arcades, which I love. And, we didn't know he was going. And we went around the roundabout. He said he needs to go toilet in Butlins. We're like, Grandad, you can't go in there. Why are you going into the toilets? They're not going to let you in. And then he pulls out the paperwork and we're there in Butlins and it's a holiday. What a blessing. And, during this time, I would just break out in tears. I'd be praying and I would just keep crying. Just at the idea that he was gone. It was something I couldn't process. Like I say, I'd never lost someone in the family. This was the first time losing someone. And there would just be moments where I'd be alone and just overwhelmed with emotion and I couldn't help but cry. And one of the things that I kept praying was, Lord, is he in heaven? Because that's all I cared about. Lord, is he in heaven? Is he saved? Is he with you? Because I was a Protestant at the time. I wasn't Eastern Orthodox, which I don't really think matters. But I thought I'd just tell you that. And, I was just praying. I was like, Lord, is he saved? Is he saved? And it was on the day of his funeral where I had great confirmation from the Lord, and it allowed me to be at peace. And what happened was I woke up that day And I'm sure you have the Bible app, you know they do Bible verses of the day. And the Bible verse of the day on his funeral, after all the praying I had been doing, Lord, please just tell me, give me a sign, is he in heaven, is he saved? On the day of his funeral, I open up the Bible app and I see Romans 10:13. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. And I knew in that moment, that was not a coincidence. That was not woo-woo stuff, you know. That was a confirmation from the Lord, and I believe that truly. And on the day of his funeral, I went. A very sad day. Something I've never experienced. It was my first funeral. I did a speech for him because I respect him so much that I knew I just had to. I had to do a speech, and I had people laughing in the funeral, surprisingly. I don't know if people are meant to be laughing in funerals, but you know, I couldn't make it all sad and gloom. It was just a speech of memories, of my favourite memories with him that I got to share. And you know, during this time I had a lot of weird dreams where he was in there, and you know, that was just, I guess, part of the mourning process with grieving. He was in my dreams. I don't really look too deep into dreams, to be honest. And you know, I go to my nan one day, you know, just to go see her after the funeral. And I get talking, because I'm curious now. I'm like, okay, so I saw this Bible verse, Romans 10:13, whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. And I ask her, I go, what was Granddad's religion? You know, was he like Christian? And she goes, yeah, he grew up Catholic. And I actually just found out from my mum now, my granddad was very proud of my mum when she got us baptised into the Catholic Church. I grew up in the Catholic Church. She was very happy. Which is interesting to hear. The delight that he felt of me just being baptised shows to me he loved the Lord. And, you know, I often think to myself, and this is something I thought about at the time, when he was on his deathbed, because he was there for a while, I'm not sure if he was paralysed, but he couldn't really move. And, you know, my nan says that he was squishing her hand, so he could do those sort of things. And I often think to myself, he must have spoken to the Lord in those days, sitting on his deathbed or laying on his deathbed, barely conscious, I'm not sure. But I'm sure, by the grace of the Lord, as someone who loves Christ, as we can see that through his enthusiasm from when I got baptised, I'm sure he had conversations with the Lord on that bed. Although he could not talk to the family members around him, I'm sure he was able to talk to the Lord, and who knows what he spoke about. I can only guess. Repentance, perhaps. Or speaking to the Lord, just who knows. But I truly believe in those moments he must have been talking to the Lord. And that gives me more comfort. That gives me more faith and more hope. And I do not believe in coincidences. I do not believe in such things or anything like that. And, you know, to hear that he grew up Catholic, and to hear how enthusiastic he was about my baptism, and to think about the type of man he was, I can assuredly imagine that he was doing something of that sort on that deathbed. And you know, sometimes here and there, especially when family gatherings happen, you often sit there and you're like, one more time. Could you walk through the door one more time? I remember I was at my nan's house on the 26th of December, Boxing Day. And it was the first Boxing Day without him. And I just remember I was sat there and I just had a moment of felt like I was just zoned out. And I just remember looking at the door, just imagining, just one more time. One more time, could you walk through that door, please? It's not going to happen though. But I must say, the Lord has been very gracious to me during this death, and he's really helped me overcome it, just with the slight confirmations that I've shared with you today, but also just knowing that when I cry, God is with me. When I'm mourning, God is with me. You know, I had a moment yesterday when I had the idea to do this video. I was going through some of the old emails of the ones I shared with him. We used to send emails to each other. He would call me G-son, I'd call him G-dad. And I put it at the beginning of the video, but this is one of the final emails I actually sent him. It was reminding him, hey, I found this picture. This is you, found this picture. It was at Borough Market, I believe. And I just started crying yesterday, deeply crying, and it was tears of joy. It was tears of joy because I was having many great revelations yesterday, which I'll be making videos on. And I'm so grateful that I had my granddad. I'm so grateful for who he was, and he was a very strong, dedicated man. He was dedicated to his craft. He, like I say, a gardener. He was dedicated that till death, and he died doing what he loved. How beautiful is that? He was a creator, an artist, a great granddad, father, a role model. And I pray to the Lord that those confirmations are true, and that in the end of times may I be reunited with him in the resurrection. And may the Lord continue to comfort not only me but my family members and everyone who my granddad knew, who also deeply mourns his death. And may they comfort him in his heart. And on Friday, may the Spirit of the Lord rain down on our family as we gather in remembrance of him. And I'm so grateful for the Lord and his love, for it would have been much harder to overcome this without him. And as hard as it may be if you've just lost a family member or someone has passed away that you love, don't be afraid to sit with that pain. Don't be afraid to embrace the mourning. For blessed are the ones who mourn. He's always with you. I'm sure my granddad's already found an allotment in heaven, and he's already planting new flowers, heavenly flowers. Maybe the Lord hired him to become the gardener of heaven. Who knows? But I'm going to end it on something that you will not understand. No one will understand. You think I'm weird. But my granddad will get it. If I can hold it, you can hold it. Have a good day.